I think the Taliban would look at a lot of these proposals and be like, guys, good
Yeah.
ideas. Thanks. Can we borrow this? This is great.
Can you
So
send
yeah,
us over a copy PDF? That'd be wonderful. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special relationship, the podcast that sees the US and UK listen to each other and say, hey, for a foreigner, your English is pretty good. My name's Matt Johnson. I host a show called The Interesting Times, and from the more interesting US is my co-host and person we've sobered up just enough for the next 30 minutes or so, so we better be quick. So Andrea Bridges-Smith. Andrea, I do like to think we have a very special relationship, the sort of relationship where we can be honest with each other. So can I say, from all the non-Americans, stop it. Please just stop it. Stop it now. People are watching.
I hope you're not referring to the drinking. That's not an option. Matt, just to paint a little bit of a picture for you here, you know how some religions say you start out as like an insect and then you die and you're reincarnated as a frog and then you die and then over the course of several millennia you go on this kind of big evolutionary journey into that sort of thing. Picture that millennia long journey just scrunched down into about 2 weeks. And that's basically America right now. It's just a little bit overwhelming.
Yeah, I can absolutely believe it. It's absolutely extraordinary. By the way, I do understand that wriggling lava was going to be favourite to be Trump's VP, but in the end, went with someone who is a few steps back down the evolutionary chain.
Right.
Andrea, we'll get to the Trump shooting in a little while, but can you give us the latest on Kamala Harris, on Joe Biden's obviously resignation, and in particular her choice or potential choice of vice president?
Right. So to catch everybody up, all those times that we said we didn't really want Biden or Trump, we finally manifested ourselves a different candidate. So it just took a couple of years, but we nailed it. Great job, guys. So Biden's out. Kamala looks like she's going to be the nominee. She got a ton of endorsements. She's got a bunch of fundraising that has come flooding in. So basically, all the donations had kind of like dried up, and then it was like a faucet turned on and just whoosh, money started flowing out, which is always a good feeling, except for Joe Biden, who's probably like, hey, come on, guys, that feels a little mean. But, basically everyone was like, okay, you got your shiny new candidate that isn't on the brink of death. Now shut your face and get in line. And for once, that actually worked.
Yeah, yeah. I just spotted just shortly before we came on air, and I'm not sure if this is true because it's on Twitter, but assuming it would be a good idea, Beyonce and Taylor Swift are going to join up to do a fundraising, one of the biggest fundraising sort of things out there.
Oh,
I guess. I
oh,
don't know.
that's exciting. Exciting if
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
Would watch. Fingers crossed. That sounds like a fun time. Hashtag girl power. So in terms of her potential pick for vice president, because we just went through a Veep stakes a couple weeks ago on the Republican side. Now it's time to do it on our side. So on the list, we have Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, Arizona Senator Mark Kelly, and Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg that are all kind of in the mix.
I've actually heard of some of them, so that's a good sign. That's
Yeah.
obviously quite a lot of people. Can we, or let's be honest, narrow it down a little bit?
Yeah, so my money on who would actually get the nomination is probably Josh Shapiro, Mark Kelly, or Pete Buttigieg. But I'm really, really hoping that she just says screw it and picks Gretchen Whitmer because I think the absolute funniest thing that could happen is after, the GOP overturned Roe v. Wade, is you end up with two women in the White House and they are both pissed. I am ready for the female rage to be fully unleashed. I want to see lasers shoot out of their eyes?
Absolutely. With a name like Gretchen, it's going to send the MAGA lot over the edge, isn't it, really? So, having a female leader of the country would indeed drag you guys into the 20th century. I mean, certainly.
Yes, I think we are definitely ready for that. I know when Hillary Clinton ran, We apparently weren't. Some of us were, a lot of us were, but some of us weren't. And maybe those people should shut the hell up this time.
I've got to say as well that I think this is brilliant. I really do. I was having a chat with some friends the other day, and I actually think this is a very bold move by the Democrats. Trump has to shift his whole narrative. He can't do the Sleepy Joe thing anymore. I mean, people will always attack Kamala Harris no matter what, but he can't do the age thing anymore, clearly.
Well, the
But
thing is, now he's the old guy. So she
yeah,
can actually go after him on the age thing. She can be like, hey, remember all those times that you said, like we shouldn't be electing people so old? Well, you're the old guy now. So,
yeah,
what do you think about that? Because that old guy argument was very effective. So effective, in fact, that Joe Biden said, yeah, you know what? I get you. I agree. I'll take a seat.
and I don't know. Well, I imagine that this is something they're going to do anyway. But the next debate, you'd like to think if she's anyway brief, she's going to wipe the floor with him, especially when he's got this 2 minute mic cut off.
Right, exactly. I hope they leave it on, actually, because the nice thing about Kamala Harris is she is going to bring out the absolute worst in him.
Right.
So, a couple weeks ago, he was calling for unity. I will let you decide how long that lasted. It wasn't long, spoiler alert. But, I think the big difference between those two is she's a prosecutor and he's a convicted felon. And I think she's going to be very effective at hammering that home.
Yeah, yeah. Here's how the conversation with my friends went down. If you're
Yeah.
hardly interested, but they seem to think, oh, I don't know, Trump's got all that support. It's like it doesn't matter what he does. He always comes out smelling of roses, as it were. I don't think that's the case because I mean, you're over there. You're able to tell better than I can, but I think that America got so fed up watching these two people sitting there thinking, is this the best we can do? All of a sudden, this bright new candidate comes in. I think it'll latch a lot of people onto her.
I think you're right. I also think that your friends have a point. It is very frustrating to watch over and over again as he just barely, slips out of the trap that has been set for him.
Yeah.
But let us also remember that there are a lot of times where he has lost. Like the last presidential election, he lost.
Mm,
The Senate candidates in the midterm elections that he wanted mostly lost. His party has lost a lot since he became the standard bearer, and now they're doubling down on that for some reason. And
yeah.
yeah, when Joe Biden was the candidate, that might have made sense, but I don't think it does anymore.
No, it's going to be an interesting 4 months, certainly. And 4 months is a long time. I know you guys think it's just around the corner, honestly, but as I say, for the rest of the world, we wrap our stuff up in like half that time, really. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's
no,
going to
I was telling one of my friends the other day, I was like, this past 2 weeks has been the longest year of my life. So, a lot can happen between now and election day. So, it won't be boring. So we got that to look forward to. So Matt, I'm curious, how are things going over there? Has anyone been assassinated? Is Keir Starmer still your prime minister? Has Penny Mordaunt used that sword on anyone? I mean, it's a high bar for drama if you want to keep up with us.
Well, we are not averse to our own dalliance on the high wire of political danger, but yeah, nothing like that. Keir
Okay.
Starmer, our new prime minister, I got to be honest, it feels really good to be able to say that, right? So he is facing pressure to scrap something called the two-child benefit cap. Basically, as things stand, if you have more than two children, in most cases, you won't be able to claim tax or child credit for them. I think somebody put it down as tens of thousands of children in poverty, effectively. There was a
Okay.
vote on it last night, but Keir Starmer, rather, it's a bit of a cruel nickname. Some people on the further left call him Kid Starver,
Oh,
and it's that which Kid Starver, which is a bit unfair, I think. Anyway,
right.
he has his party pretty much in line, and was the bill that was raised was actually pretty roundly defeated. I have to say it's a pretty inhumane policy, but I don't suspect, I know that finances are behind this. And as such, provided Labour gets the growth it's promised, I would be surprised if the two-child cap is still there by the end of the term. But that's pretty much the news over here. But no, we haven't had any assassination attempts over here.
Oh, yeah, right. That. Feels like so long ago. Matt, do you know what it's like to live in a nation where an assassination attempt on a presidential candidate 2 weeks ago is considered old news? Our brains are just screaming. Truly, it's been a
All
lot.
right. Well, I did a little bit of digging. Would you like to know the last time one of our leaders was successfully assassinated?
Of course.
Do you want to have a guess? I'll tell you what. Do you want to have a guess at? Let's go with millennium first.
Okay. I would say last millennium, not
Yes.
this one.
Yes.
Okay, I'm in the ballpark.
Century. You want to have a go at century?
I'm gonna say 18th.
Before then,
Oh, really? Okay.
15th,
15th century.
1471. Yeah. Yeah. We've never
Oh,
had a prime minister assassinated. We've have unfortunately had MPs assassinated. The closest that we got to it, of course, was Margaret Thatcher in 82 with the
wow.
bombing of the hotel she was staying in by the IRA in Brighton. But yeah, in 1471, Henry VI was assassinated while staying in the Tower of London by Edward the something or other, his son. Oh God, I should know that. Edward the Fourth, I think. Yeah,
Oh,
so there
okay.
you go. We don't tend to get that much in the way of assassinations. It did make me laugh when Trump was talking about, my God, they tried to assassinate an American president. Have you ever heard of such a thing? It's like, yeah, we have really. JFK, Lincoln, Reagan nearly, it's kind of like, I don't want to sound funny. I think for the rest of the world, we're going, okay, that's shocking, but not that shocking.
Not entirely unprecedented. Yeah, I think we've had four that have been killed and three others, including Trump, that have been wounded that have survived. So yeah, it's not completely unheard of, especially in this
Yeah.
country.
By the way, I love the fact, it sounds really odd to say it, but everybody was wearing the white things on their
Oh
ears at the
God,
Trump rally. Just
yes,
extraordinary.
yes, that was interesting. That was interesting. Uh, yeah, wow. Yeah, so the assassination attempt, which really does feel like it happened months ago at this point.
Hmm.
The shooter's motive is still not really known. It kind of sounds like he was maybe just a disturbed individual and he wanted some notoriety and he figured, well, this is a way to do that. And, not wrong. But, that's what's great about America. If you want to make a name for yourself by shooting someone, we make it relatively painless to acquire the guns and ammo necessary. There are now stores in Oklahoma selling ammo in vending machines. And
No,
yeah, yeah,
really?
you
Is that
just,
true?
yes, I am not making that up. That is an actual thing that is happening in the United States
Oh my
right
God.
now. Fun fact,
Oklahoma of all places. Sorry, I'm just
I
thinking of the
know.
musical. It always seems so upbeat. Boy, was I
Yeah,
wrong.
actual Oklahoma is very different from the musical. But fun fact, after Trump got shot by an AR 15, there was a giveaway at the Republican National Convention where people could enter to win, you guessed it, a free AR 15. So they have really
Oh,
taken the lessons of that shooting deeply to heart.
I did see as well that Biden was talking about scrapping AR-15s or something, but the Republicans were like, no, screw you. Stop trying to take the gun that nearly killed our leader.
Yeah, I mean, that makes all kinds of sense, doesn't it?
All right. Anyway, trying desperately to get in on the action around the tangerine toss pot, to take it back to a little bit of the British connection, if you like.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so I saw that in a desperate bid to make themselves relevant, a few of the Brits were over there, joined the RNC.
Mm-hmm.
So you had the no longer member of parliament or prime minister Liz Truss, and no longer member of parliament or prime minister Boris Johnson, who are playing to virtually empty halls over there. In fact, there's a picture of Liz Truss shaking hands with JD Vance, and you just
Oh.
get a sense of the fact that she's trying to give that look as if to say, haha, we're both leaders here. And JD Vance is giving that look to say, oh, another fan. How lovely to see you. Nigel Farage, 2 weeks into his new job as being a member of parliament, has left it just to check in on the Don and wasn't even given an audience. Oh dear, how embarrassing, never mind. Especially as fart-faced Farage made such a big deal on wanting to check his number one buddy was okay. I mean, who knew that someone like Trump would be lacking any loyalty to his friends, right?
Yeah, completely unprecedented, just like the assassinations.
So even creepy sex pest Russell Brand was there posing with Don Jr., which is about as far as that went. So that gives you some idea of the caliber of Brits that we're sort of sending over, as it were.
Well, thanks for sending them over. I think sounds wrong, but please take them back now, I think is what I would like to say. We have our own problems, and the last thing we need is, Liz Truss wandering into the Fed chair's office and setting off a massive stock sell-off or something like that. Speaking of, global goof-ups, I am curious how this IT failure last week affected things over there. We're still kind of dealing with the effects of that. Seems like it messed up travel pretty much worldwide. Did you guys notice a lot of the effects of that IT
I'm
outage?
ashamed to say it. I'm ashamed to say I didn't catch too much of it on the news. I mean, I was aware of it on the news. I've got an Apple Mac here, so I was a little bit blissfully unaware, if I'm being honest. I mean, what can you tell me about it, Andrea?
So first off, I too have a Mac. I've spent about 48 hours on phone with tech support. Pro tip, don't ever do a software update to a new operating system. Shout out to my homies at Apple Tech Support. The dozen of you that I spoke to were all very nice. Thanks a lot. I actually know someone that works at the cybersecurity company that's at the root of this because they're actually based in Austin. And when I woke up and I saw the news, I sent him a message like, "Oh man, I don't think you're going to have a fun day. Good luck out there." And he was like, "Nope, not having a good time."
Yeah, before we both go, rather, I want
Yeah.
to ask you about something. It's just all this kind of IT and global things happening.
Yeah.
You've no doubt heard of Project 25.
2025, yes.
What is it? Sorry, this thing keeps coming up, and I suppose I haven't Googled it. I thought I'll ask Andrea next time I see her. What is it? What can you tell us about it?
Great question. So Project 2025 is this thing by the Heritage Foundation, which is a conservative think tank. They are a tax-exempt organization, which means they are not supposed to engage in politics. So if anyone would like to report them to the IRS, that is Form 13909, irs.gov. Just go ahead and send in your complaints to them. Anyways, they basically came up with this hundreds of pages long manifesto, which is never a good sign. You never want a big long manifesto. That's when things go off the rails typically, and this is no exception. So basically what's in here is they want to ban all abortions entirely forever. Contraception, they're not into that either. They'd like to get rid of contraception. Climate change, we're not going to do anything about climate change. They want to change the rules so that they can get rid of people who have been working in the federal government for a long time and just replace them with Trump loyalists. So it'll be easier for him to do his bidding. There's an end to no-fault divorce. So would make it a lot more difficult to get divorced. So if you're a woman who is in a marriage with an abusive man, they would like you to just go ahead and hang out and cross your fingers, and I don't know, maybe Jesus will make it better if you pray harder. So it's a lot of stuff like that. It's, I think they would be really happy if we went back to that time in the 70s where women could not open a credit card without their husband's permission. I think they were probably pretty okay with that. So yeah, it's a lot of proposals like that. There's it's really heavy on controlling women. Right. And the government, so that Donald Trump can do this kind of Christian nationalist bidding. Oh, and then there's a lot of stuff about schools, about, all the schools need to be like teaching Bible stuff. So yeah, it's very bad. It's a very bad thing. Yeah.
It's effectively turning the country into a fascist state, if I'm reading that correctly.
Yes, I think the Taliban would look at a lot of these proposals and be like, guys, good ideas. Yeah. Thanks. Can we borrow this? This is great. Can
you send us over a copy PDF? That'd be wonderful.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly the things as far as replacing all the judges and things like that, and only insisting that, yeah, that's rather terrifying. I think
It is.
we're all just, and it's probably no secret that certainly in Europe, anywhere outside of Russia, China, and North Korea is hoping for a Kamala Harris victory come November. And obviously, large portion in the US are as well. But we're also, I guess, in a way, preparing for the worst. You're seeing that certainly from Europe a lot. Britain will still do that thing of being, oh, we'll work with anybody if Trump gets in. We'll work with Trump, which again, it's just one of those things. What you have to do really effectively. But you kind of see it with Europe that they're trying to move their own masses, and I get the feeling that they will try and sort of put together some sort of army themselves, because we've always relied on Big Brother America. We have, and you've always been able to come to the rescue for us, but that may not be the case, because obviously whatever Putin's got on Trump seems to be working.
Well, let me just say this. You think you have an immigration problem now? If Donald Trump gets elected, it is going to be Americans on those little boats coming across the channel. You're going to have so many boats. Get ready for boats.
Chef Austin sent me an email saying about how crazy things were going. And I sent one back saying, don't worry, there's a bed for you and a can of beans. If you come, all you got to do is get over here, and I'll sort of, we'll give you a sanctuary, as it were, political sanctuary.
Great. Yes. Just go ahead and start stockpiling those beans, and we'll see what happens in November. And, if the best happens, go ahead and eat the beans. We know how much you guys like beans. Have at them. But if not, we'll be over in a jiff. Just make some room. Go ahead and get the guest bedroom ready. So Matt, before we go, I wanted to ask you, the Olympics are coming up this week. Are you excited about that?
I've genuinely not been paying attention to it. Isn't it awful? And I should. It's coming up next week. As you know, I'm not huge on sport, but I was kind of swept up in the whole Euros, where England did rather well. They got to the final, got beaten by a superior footballing side, essentially the Spanish. But I got swept up and all that. I forgot about. Oh yeah, it's the Olympics as well. So yeah, I'm going to be excited. I'm going to do one of those things whereby you don't go to bed because you're watching some vague sport that all of a sudden you turn into an expert on, don't you? Even though you've only just started watching it.
Yes, I can picture you up at 2 a.m. just watching the horse dancing. The horse dancing, the little
yes dressage. The Brits always do well in dressage. Basically, yes. Everything when you got to be really posh, we do. We knock it out the ballpark, as you Americans would say.
So, what's your favorite event of the Olympics?
That's a good question. I love watching the cycling.
Yes.
When that comes on, especially the one where they start off at different sides, and one side's got to catch the other. Because you're like, go on, no, just go on, go a little bit further.
Yeah.
Oh, hockey as well, because I used to play hockey, field hockey, that is.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's and again, the Brits tend to do all right in that. How about you?
I really like the swimming. I think that's exciting. I get a little bit hungry just watching it because, just like, oh man, it's like, oh no, wait, they're the ones burning all the calories. I probably don't need all these snacks, but that thing with their arms, how like this whole area between like their bicep and their ribs is just a giant muscle. Yes. I think that's cool. I like that.
It's kind of insane when you see them in the pole, and then they just, especially things like the butterfly, it's just like, you're sitting there thinking, I'm watching an otter here. I'm not watching a person. This is incredible. Yeah,
exactly. Fantastic. They're just so strong. And I'm just like, yeah, that must be cool to just be that jacked. I wouldn't know because I'm not, but it seems like it could be fun.
Yes. And again, you reach, you can see people running to keep up with them, What sports aren't you looking forward to?
Dressage. Watch it. It's a little horse prancing. Just do.
I don't understand what's going on. If you're going to include it with the dogs. The dogs that do this and then turn around and you see them just spinning around, things like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Have you ever seen Crufts? We have a dog show over here called Crufts. Have you ever heard of it?
No, we have one over here called the Westminster Dog Show, though. And
Okay.
that's
Most of it's just sort of nonsense. And these weirdly outbreeded dogs, and you've got sort of three noses and hair that's too long, and skin hanging over their face. But there's this wonderful thing that they do where they put them, and it's usually things like sheepdogs that do rather well at this. The English sheepdogs, the black and white ones, quite slim. They put an obstacle course up for them, and they go crazy over it. It's like, and I'm thinking, put that up there. I would watch that all day. That'd be brilliant.
yes. Okay, we need to start a petition for dog obstacle course to be
Yes.
put into the Olympics. Why do we always have to watch people do stuff in the Olympics? We want to watch dogs do stuff. We should make dogs a part of the Olympics. I think this is the one thing that everybody across the globe can agree on. We just did unity. We just achieved unity, Matt. Great job.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's make it happen.
All right. That's our new mission in life. Screw this world peace shit. All right. That's all
Election,
we have time
election.
for. I cannot think about the election anymore. I'm so tired. That is all we have time for this week. And also, my morning wine is running out, and I'll be forced to switch to my midday wine soon. Matt and I will be back next week, and I hope we have slightly less to talk about. In the meantime, you can catch Matt over on his channel at The Interesting Times UK, which is a great name because these times couldn't get more interesting if they tried. And I will hopefully be here on Friday with an all-new episode of my show. Who knows at this point? But, subscribe to make sure you don't miss it. Thanks for watching. I wish you all a boring week. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.